George Brown of Rhode Island had a problem. Within 9 years he had lost his wife, Eliza, and 2 daughters, Mary and Mercy, all to consumption. With his son Edwin at death's door suffering from the same condition, George Brown had to try something. So against scientific medical advice, he was persuaded to try an old folk ritual. On May 17th, 1892, the 3 women's bodies were exhumed and examined for any unnatural signs. And here are the Brown family graves.
By the time of the exhumation, Mary Eliza had been dead for 9 years and was found to be mummified. Her daughter, Mary Olive, was now a skeleton, still with a thick head of hair, but Mercy Brown was in far better condition. Dr. Metcalf, who attended as local medical examiner, noted the presence of tuberculosis germs on the lungs, small telltale nodules that mark the disease. Mercy's body was said to be unnaturally fresh, but perhaps that's not so surprising. She had died in January and the ground here is hard in winter. It's been suggested that she'd been kept in this crypt, a kind of prototypal freezer. Now for the strange part. Mercy's heart and liver were removed, burnt to ashes on this stone, and fed to Edwin. Regrettably, it didn't work. Edwin died shortly afterward. So what was going on? In fact, there are several examples of these kinds of practices dating back from the 18th century in New England. Nearly a century before Mercy Brown, and buried only a couple of miles from her, there had been Sarah Tillinghast. In the late 1700s, Stukely Tillinghast and his wife Honor lived in a farmstead in Exeter, Rhode Island. They'd had 14 children, all of whom, unusually for the day, had reached adulthood. One night, so the story goes, he dreamt that he had an orchard in which half the trees died. Shortly afterward, his daughter Sarah died of consumption at the age of 22.
Another Tillinghast sibling became ill and complained that Sarah came to visit her every night, sitting on different parts of her body and causing her great pain and misery.
5 more siblings died and were interred with Sarah in this family graveyard. With another child severely ill, and Sarah's mother also complaining of nightly visits, the family took action. In the presence of neighbours, the bodies of the 6 dead Tillinghasts were exhumed. All were in a suitable state of decomposition, except one.
Sarah was found to be in a remarkable condition. The eyes were open and fixed. The hair and nails had grown, and the heart and arteries were filled with fresh red blood. It was clear to all these astonished people that the cause of their trouble lay there before them.
Sarah's heart was taken to a nearby rock and burned.
The severely ill Tillinghast, a young married farmer, did succumb to his disease, but there the death stopped. In all, 7 of Stukely and Honor's children had died, just as his dream had foretold.
There were other exhumations in the 19th century, and because so many graveyards were private family plots, we'll probably never know about many of them.
There have been cases of mistaken identity with vampires in Rhode Island too, such as that of Nellie Vaughan, who was buried here. Her gravestone said, "I'm waiting and watching for you."
The connection of Nellie with the vampirism legend seems to be a very recent case of mistaken identity, people having taken her for Mercy Brown. The seemingly ominous legend on her gravestone and its odd subsided angle apparently persuaded vampire hunters that she was the real thing. The graveyard is very isolated and shows evidence of vandalism. Nellie's gravestone has been removed to discourage misbehaving visitors, so there's now no visible sign of where she's buried.
And the indications are that the unwelcome attention and some of the vandalism are still continuing here.
Regrettably, security measures have been necessary at Mercy's grave too.
So here we have a series of exhumations designed to halt epidemic death, all within a certain period of time and within a specific area of New England. What can it all mean?
She bloomed, though the shroud was around her, locks o'er her cold bosom wave, as if the stern monarch had crowned her, the fair speechless queen of the grave. But what lends the grave such lustre? O'er her cheeks what such beauty shed? His lifeblood, who bent there, had nursed her, the living was food for the dead.